post All Out show. Oh, am I live now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, welcome back, everyone, to the Wrestling Inc. podcast. We're doing the post All Out show. I am Jesse Collings. Joined with me is Raj Giri of WrestlingInc.com and also Matt Morgan. Guys, how's it going tonight?
What's up, Jess?
Raj?
It's going well. I mean, a little tired. I thought this pay-per-view was not the strongest outing that AEW has done. But, yeah, doing good. How about you?
I'm doing good. And yeah, I think that seems to be the buzz going around online that everyone seems to agree on, that this was the worst AEW pay-per-view we have seen. I'm not going to disagree with that. I think there were some good parts of the show, but this definitely seemed like the weakest show AEW has produced on pay-per-view. I don't know if you guys share that same opinion.
What do you think, Matt?
There's parts to it, right, that I really enjoyed. But I'm pissed off because all day long, I've been so pumped to watch that main event. I was so excited to watch it. And as the match started, I'm not going to lie, I started dozing off a little bit. I had to turn all the lights on. I had to start smacking myself in the face to stay up and watch it. And this is a match I really paid my $49 to watch. I really did. And it was a good match. But my point is, it's too late into the night. It's too late to expect people to emotionally invest in a pay-per-view for this amount of time. They should be able to learn from WWE's mistakes with the 3-hour Raws, for example, of what can happen when you make people wait too damn long. And I'll also argue, as much as I love Kenny Omega, he has got an entire galaxy to go when it comes to being top. I don't want to hear he's the top anything anymore because his acting is rotten. I mean, terrible rotten. As far as selling things, he oversells everything out there. And the psychology involved in that match, when he leaves the match all pissed off, he's no longer selling his knee that they worked on. He just walks out of there scot-free, no big deal. And then he somehow blames it on Hangman Page, which is the most stupid-ass backwards logic I ever heard. Not even in a good heel type of way am I saying, does this make sense? His acting is just god-awful. I'm sorry. I've been not saying it enough. And finally tonight, it just bursted for me because that was a good tag match. And that at the end was a big steaming pile of crap that took away from that match. Because that match was, we talked about when we went on the air, old school, great psychology, pick body parts. When you have somebody pick apart a body part and then the damn guy doesn't sell it, it's all gone. And I'm telling you guys before the show started, I like the Young Bucks tag match better. Sorry.
No, you're bringing the heat early. We like it. Raj? I don't know if Raj's mic is on.
Who knows? Raj, do you hear us?
Now can you hear me?
Yes,
Oh,
we
I
can.
thought you went away.
I thought the tag match was awesome. I thought it was the best thing on the show personally for me, but I agree with Matt. I thought the follow-up was weak as shit. I mean, if that was the breakup after these 8 months of Hangman Page and Kenny Omega, if that was the split, that was the weakest split I've ever seen. You know, when you look at Brett versus Owen or Sean and Marty, all these great, tag team splits over the years. And this was it. Hopefully they do some more where maybe that wasn't it. They're still back together. I don't know. But if that was the split, I thought that sucked. But the match itself, I thought was amazing. I love FTR.
Neo Kara says cheers, AJ. Said cheers, Raj. $2 in the chat. All right,
cheers,
listen.
buddy.
Also in that match, though, Kenny did one thing I did like when he was reaching out, when he screwed up, hit the V trigger on his own in the misdirection, hitting his own partner, Hangman Page. He was reaching out to him a little bit, you know what I mean? Trying to smack him and say, "Oh my God, I can't believe I messed up," and hit you. That was good. So how do you go from that extreme to, "Oh my God, I screwed this up for us, and it's my fault, we're about to lose," to all of a sudden it's his fault?
Right.
Well, isn't that what heels do? No, they don't. Not like that. This was horrible, and I'm dead serious. He needs to go to acting school. He's horrible as an actor. He needs to stay in the ring, do his high spots. That's
Omega,
it.
he was so great.
And never let him talk. He's terrible.
As Javis Gebers said, Omega was great in Japan, basic in the United States. He hasn't, as a character, been able to get to that next level.
I've been blaming AEW this whole time for that because I like him in the ring. I do. But there's this killed me tonight.
I think I think he clearly has a lot of control over his character in AEW.
Well, if he does, he needs to give control up.
Yeah, no. So I don't know if I don't think it's really an AEW problem or in a Kenny problem. I think it would just be a Kenny problem.
I was rationalizing for him because I was a fan. I am a fan. So
yeah, he's great.
I don't think this is the final breakup. I think they're continuing to do the slow burn. Ugh. I think if they wanted to do the breakup, they would have done.
They're not a real tag team though, bro. They're two singles acts thrown together. They went further than I thought they would.
At some point, you need to pull the cord. Either you're going to do it or
they're
not.
Getting there. What I got from tonight was that it's going to be Kenny turning on Hangman. And in the past, it has been teased that it was Hangman turning on Kenny.
It's got to be.
And I think that's the smart move because I think that Hangman has organically gotten over as a babyface.
Yes.
And you can't really blow that. That's pretty rare, I think, in wrestling to get a guy who's young, who checks a lot of the boxes and has developed a connection with the crowd.
All that's spot on. Yes, you're right. But what about, then that means Omega has to be healed. Do you know what that's going to look like? Like during heat, what his heat is going to look like on his
I actually think because
he's going to do twinkle fingers at it and point at them. And...
It's hard for me because a lot of people think Kenny should be a heel and that he should bring back the cleaner gimmick, and that they're clearly teasing that. He said it right on the show.
That was cool. That was cool. The cleaner gimmick in Japan, right?
And they teased it on. I don't know what's canon and being the elite and what's not. They say nothing's at the end of being the elite. They totally teased that he was going to turn the cleaner. He got into his car and he looked into his sunlight and he was his regular eyes. And then they cut back and he.
So what does that mean? He's going to bring a broom now?
I don't know what's going to
toothpick in his mouth with old school 80s sunglasses.
He's based off a bunch of 80s movie heels.
But it looked cool in Japan and he didn't talk, which worked.
I thought he looked cooler when he dumped the broom. He just had the sunglasses. He was being an arrogant prick when he was wrestling Tanahashi.
Yes.
I mean, that was his peak, in my opinion, and he has come so far down since then. Real quick, Arian Gomez saying, preach, Matt. Amen to you, brother. Peter Bahi saying, not a fan of MJF losing clean. I think it would have been way more interesting if MJF won. Liam Morris saying, bring heel Raj. Not a heel tonight.
He'll be coming out later. We're going to get some of this. We're going to get to some of this stuff.
Yeah. Sorry.
Combo Breaker asking if I'm drunk or tied drunk.
So let's get to the show. The pre-show. I did not see the first match on the pre-show.
Who was it? I'll tell you if I saw it.
It was Joey Janela versus Serpentico.
I did see it.
This was a match. I don't think it was announced prior. I think it just kind of happened.
They announced it, I think, yesterday or today.
Oh, did they? So Joey Janela wrestled Serpentico. Serpentico really hasn't been featured much on Dynamite. He's been working mostly on AEW Dark. And this was kind of just my understanding, again, I didn't see it. It was just kind of a basic match. There was a lot of interference. Dr. Luther manages Serpentico.
He does. Of course he does.
And Sonny Kiss.
Luther sucks.
And then, Luther's there as a favor to somebody.
That's a big.
There's a few guys bouncing around AEW that I think are clearly there as favors to someone. But
really, Jesse, he's not the future champion. You don't think?
So, it's a basic match. There was some interference on both ends. Janela ended up winning. He hit there was a fisherman buster, and then he hit the top rope elbow for the pin. So Janela gets a win on the pre-show after basically jobbing out to
Jericho.
Dynamite. Yeah, he's had kind of an interesting run in AEW.
It was all right. This match, dissecting this match was what it was. If I could have fast forwarded it, I would have.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Serpentico, I mean, he's 1 inch away from being one of the first Retribution members. You remember when there was these 4 foot tall guys that were running roughshod on WWE? This guy was 4 foot 2. Yes. But
who cares?
How are you supposed to care about this match?
We don't. So let's go to the show.
Yeah, it wasn't. So then we had the second pre-show match, which was Private Party versus Alex Reynolds and John Silver of the Dark Order. I did see this match. I liked it. It was very much like a what you would see on a high-level indie show, which is to be expected because that's where these guys come from. Private Party ended up getting the win, about 10-minute match. Pretty what you would see a lot on Dynamite. It was fine for the pre-show. Again, I don't know how many people watch BTE. John Silver is basically become the biggest star on Being the Elite, and he's he's on like 5 times 5 segments a show. And I think with a certain set of the fan base, they're going to have to actually push him because he is over with like the 200,000 people or so who watch BTE every week.
So I'm just going to say I'm the first human being on this planet that has said this. I'm taking ownership of John Silver. His very first appearance on that show, I'm dead serious. I said they need to do more with this dude. He's hilarious, you guys. And everyone's like, oh, the little guy in the mask, who cares? And to be fair, why would you care? But he was so hilarious in every freaking
comedic timing is great.
It's amazing.
But they don't do it on Dynamite. They only do it at Being the Elite. And that's part of the struggles with AEW is some of the best stuff you see is like this Twitter exclusive or it's on.
You're right. Yeah. I wish they did something more with him. But what do you do? Because he's a total babyface, right? He has to be because he's so funny. I don't know. I laugh at all his shit, though. I think it's hilarious. He's so funny. But anyways, the match itself, I like this match, actually. I thought this was really cool, and I was surprised that they had this match. I didn't know they were going to have it.
Yeah, well, the original idea on the pre-show was that they were going to do the dentist, the tooth and nail match, which they definitely should have kept on the pre-show. But I think they were concern trolled on Twitter to get it on the main get it on the main show, and it should have stayed on the pre-show. I think they needed a pre-show match to put on this, and this was fine. And a Private Party got a win on pay-per-view, I guess, which is fine. Raj, any thoughts on this match?
I mean, this was one of those cases where I tweeted this earlier, but the Dark Order, if it's not Brody Lee, they're in that spot where you gain nothing by beating them, but you lose a lot by losing to them. And I mean, and it's too bad because I do think that Silver is looking impressive as hell. They need out of this gimmick. I think the Dark Order, with the masks and the 5s and 7s and 9s, it's not helping these guys. It's a shitty gimmick, so I think you got to break out of it.
I think the masks have to go because it's really pointless to have them in the masks, but everyone knows who the people are and they don't have to wear the masks.
I would just keep Uno in it. That's it. I would just keep him in it.
Just have 4 or 5 guys.
Well,
Anna Jay and
Anna Jay's great in it too. See, I would just keep Uno in the mask, and that's it. The rest of them come out of those stupid masks, and then give some more character definition to them.
Yeah. Real quick, a couple. Neo Akira is asking, Matt, you don't like Kenny? I'm guessing means
Olivier.
Omega, I'm guessing.
I do as a wrestler. I do, but like, I've been making so many excuses because I'm a fan, and I'll admit I'm biased, and I tried to defend the dude and say. He's going to get there. It's not his fault. It's these other people's fault. And I'm like, finally, F it. This is his fault.
We want to see him in that main event level. But
he's he's not doing anything to improve. And he's doing stuff. I'm being dead serious. His acting is awful. It's so over the top. It's way like 5 levels past what everything needs to be. He has no subtleties at all that you need to have. All of his facial expressions, instead of just being like, it's like, he's all over the place. He's a total spaz.
And to that point, I feel like fans, when we were saying like Omega should be higher, we're judging that based on his New Japan stuff. He hasn't done anything in AEW where you're like, oh, he should be at a higher spot. It's knowing what he did before in New Japan and where he was, how great he was in New Japan, and not his performances lately.
I'm kind of halfway here. I agree with a lot of what Matt said. I think his promos have been bad. I thought his promo on Wednesday was really awkward and bad. And there definitely is an element of him that doesn't translate that well. The theatrics, I think, are strange to a lot of people who are watching.
I was able to. Okay, Jesse, I was able to digest those. Even the twinkle fingers and all that crap. Fine, I don't care because his work in the ring is badass, right? So I can digest that. But it's the talking, his promos, his facials, they're just ridiculous. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry because I've been waiting for this forever, Jesse. I've been waiting for this forever. Sorry.
What I would argue in Kenny's defense is I think that his position on the show is fine. I get that people want to see him be a single star. I get that people want to see him in the main event picture. But I think the work he's done with Paige and that this whole storyline and the quality of the work, I think is really high. But
I think that's because of Paige.
And do you want a guy to drink?
I think it's because of everyone.
Chalk. It's chalk. The chalk. He drinks the chalk, man.
And
I wanted to get in the ring and super kick him myself watching that.
and here's the other thing about Kenny.
He's not cool. It's not
dork.
cool.
He's a little dork.
This is kind of how he always has been.
Yeah, but that's not. If you're trying to reach.
This isn't a defense. This isn't a defense of him. But I do think when people say, "I just want him to be New Japan Kenny,"
he wasn't talking about chalk and chocolate milk.
But he kind of he did a lot of goofy shit.
Yeah. And that's
why
why
I saw him in Japan was a video game costume he wore to the ring once, and even then that was getting there. I thought for New Japan, where he's but that was his only glitch that I saw in New Japan.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people when they watched Kenny in New Japan, they saw him versus Okada, and they saw him versus Naito in the G1 final, in Tanahashi, and that's the best of the stuff. He's not going to come to do anything at that level in any other company, in my opinion. It's just that's really high stuff.
I didn't see his dumb dorky face stuff. The craziest dorky face stuff he did was like his facials were like the "you cannot escape" crap thing he does.
Well, this is a guy who spent a long time in DDT, and I can assure you, he
at
did
some
a
point
lot.
this is a mainstream audience.
Again, I agree he has to change, but I do think that there's an element that Kenny's always been goofy. He's always been weird. And I think maybe that's been masked when he was motivated in New Japan to have these amazing matches and really sink his teeth into this long Okada feud. But deep down, he's just a weirdo. I think that's just who he is. And that's probably going to be to his detriment when it comes to getting over on mainstream American television.
All right. Joey Georgian saying they have a pay-per-view every 4 months, so I think the long pay-per-view is fine. AEW is starting to rely on gimmick matches too much. The Battle Royal and Matt Hardy botch deflated the show, and the crowd was dead. I can't disagree with that. Justin Lopez saying this was the weakest AEW pay-per-view I thought, especially for the one that's supposed to be the WrestleMania. Yeah, I enjoyed Double or Nothing more. I think a lot of people would agree with you there.
Yeah.
And,
I don't know.
Kenny, Michael Ryan saying Kenny needs a promo class with MJF.
Yes.
Or Stone Cold.
Hey, MJF has I will say MJF has natural talents, and I don't know if he can teach that to anyone.
Yeah. Manish Maloo saying, hey, Matt, heel Roman or heel MJF as champ? Oh, my gosh.
I hate you for making me make this choice, but MJF.
Really? I'm going Roman.
I'm
going Roman. Roman looks the part more, I think.
I think it means more for Roman to be a heel right now. I mean,
Roman
MJF
looks badass as a heel.
He's asking me who I like better. I'm MJF better.
Watching MJF tonight, did he feel like a main eventer to you?
Oh, I thought MJF was a big winner tonight, even though he lost. I was really impressed with him tonight.
While I was watching him, I was like, oh, he's not quite ready.
There was a couple. There was 2 spots in there that I would say the same, Raj, and go back and watch the ring spot, for example, where he bumbled it on purpose, obviously, and then looked slowly up at Moxley and did the holy shit, I'm scared face. Like that stuff, he's still got to move past. He doesn't always have to be a chicken shit. Not all the time.
Right.
And
yeah.
So tonight,
it's hurt him.
I was hoping tonight we'd see a little bit less of that.
I thought there was too much of that in the build, like him wearing the neck.
Yeah, like Roddy Piper, he's not a wuss the whole time.
We've talked about this with him before, and I think Matt even brought it up when we did the Double or Nothing show. Like he has to be, and I actually think there was a lot of elements tonight where he did reach that level, but he has to be taken as a legitimate, physical threat. He can't just be a cowardly heel all the time.
Can pick, he can legitimately beat him up, and if you don't believe that from the get-go, then it's not going to work.
It doesn't matter.
Him wearing the neck brace every week, and
because then he's just a manager. That's just Jim Cornette or Jimmy Hart. Or
Exactly. He's
once the bell rings.
He's the lawyer.
Yes.
So let's get to
real quick. I am Era saying Mark wants Raj to do the Macho Man voice.
He's gonna do it. You think?
Oh yeah, MJF. You got Wardlow on your side. Are you trying to hide behind the Wardlow? Not gonna happen.
That was pretty good off the cuff, content wise.
I was gonna say the same thing. It was.
So let's get to the main show here. The first match was the Tooth and Nail match. This was a cinematic match. Big Swole showed up at Britt Baker's dentistry. I'm assuming it's her real dental office, but maybe it was just a set.
No, it was the real one.
Yeah, it was the real one. And they brawled kind of awkwardly through narrow hallways, and there was a spot where Britt Baker snuck up behind her and hit her over the head with like her dental school diploma. This was just like a like it felt like more like a backstage segment than a match. I think starting the pay-per-view with this match was a big mistake.
Well, real quick, just say what happened in the match, though. We'll say the finish. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So the finish was, I think, a first in professional wrestling. Britt Baker took out a vial of Novocaine and tried to inject it in Big Swole, but Big Swole turned it around and then allegedly injected it into like Britt Baker's thigh. And then Britt Baker grabbed, Swole grabbed a nitrous oxide mask or something, the mask for the gas, and put it on Britt Baker, who then, of course, passed out, which, unless Big Swole is a licensed anesthesiologist, that could have gotten very scary. And that was it. They ruled her unconscious and unable to continue, and Big Swole won.
They left her hand 3 times, I believe, no?
I don't know if they did the hand spot. I think it was just given that
it was definitely the finish of the match.
Yes,
Big Swole ripped up her diploma, threw it on her face, and left. And then she magically came to, she being Britt Baker, like 10 seconds later.
And she was, that's right, she did. And she was very alert as to what happened.
I'm not okay Britt Baker lost this. I'm not.
Britt's the star.
She's the star, is right.
And the sucked balls. The whole match sucked. Yeah. I mean, WWE with these cinematic matches, they started with the Boneyard match. AEW started with the Stadium Stampede, and they have just gotten worse and worse and worse. This was, they need to stop doing these. They suck. And this one was the worst yet.
This was the worst yet. Jesse, what'd you think?
This had no business being on the pay-per-view. I think if this was a segment on Dynamite, it would be...
You shouldn't open a pay-per-view with this.
It's still, you shouldn't open up with a pay-per-view, even if it was on the pre-show. The pre-show is mostly just recap videos and people talking. And this was, this would have been okay. It would have been fine. The match is bad. The only thing, a positive I'll say, is that this entire feud has, I think, gotten over the personalities of Baker and Swole to a degree. Mm. And I think that's important for the women's division. They obviously have a lot of work to do in the women's division. But if the quality of the work isn't going to be there, you can at least try to get the personalities over. And I think Baker's personality is there. I think Swole has natural charisma, and
she does.
And so I think from a function standpoint, this was okay for getting the women's personalities over this feud. I didn't think this segment was very good, and it should not have been on the pay-per-view.
It shouldn't have opened the pay-per-view. You can have it later as kind of like the break. That match,
popcorn match or something,
right?
Mm-hmm. So following
real quick, Lewis 13 saying $50 for this was a joke. Payback was better. I did think Payback was better.
I do think Payback was better too. I can't believe I'm saying that.
Yeah, but because the Roman thing. Justin Lopez saying, Matt, you were talking about bad acting. This was a damn cringe fest. All 3 of them were over the top. AF.
Really quick, Justin, are you talking about the Bucks back there too? Let me know if that's what you meant by that, or do you mean? Yeah, you have to mean that. Does it mean ATF?
Yeah.
So the next
ATF. Oh my god.
ATF. Well, you said AF, so I can understand where the
ATF is like the Irish, whatever, isn't it? Isn't like a, what the hell's wrong with me? Sorry, go ahead.
I will say Britt Baker losing here, though, it's not like anyone sees it as a loss. It's like a forgotten thing.
They did this match.
She shouldn't be losing, but in this sense, no one's going to be like, oh.
Yeah. I think Tony Khan said that the reason they did the match like this was because that Baker is not 100% physically yet coming back from injury.
Then don't have her do it. Mm-hmm. Then don't do anything.
So they did kind of a smoke and mirrors match. Well, I think
why have a shitty match as opposed to just letting her rest up and wait until she's ready?
I think a mistake they made was they announced that Britt Baker was going to be back at All Out, and they announced that she'd be fighting Big Swole months ago. And so I know you can always just say, she's not ready.
Yeah, it's not like people ordered the pay-per-view 2 months ago because of Britt Baker and Jesus Christ!
Cards subject.
Now she's not on the.
It was terrible.
So.
What was the next match?
So we got the Young Bucks versus Jurassic Express, which I think this should have just been the opener.
This was awesome.
A fast-paced match, a lot of cool spots, kind of what you would normally see in a Young Bucks match. I think the key from a psychology standpoint was they really put over the idea that the Young Bucks are really pissed. They've been pissed since they lost the match.
Yep.
When Hangman cost them the match that would get them in the tag team title picture.
Yep.
They worked the heels here. They were clearly the heels in the match. They ended up with a lot of spots. They worked over Luchasaurus. They worked over Jungle Boy. There was a good spot where Jungle Boy was going to make the hot tag to Luchasaurus. And I think it was Nick Jackson super kicks Luchasaurus at the last second. So he goes off the apron. And Jungle Boy reaches to tag him. And Nick gets on the apron and he's like, give me a hot tag, mocking him. And then Marco Stunt pulled him off the apron. So Matt super kicks Marco, which is easy heel spot. Yeah. And then so they had a match. I thought this was a really good showcase for Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. Luchasaurus at one point did a giant dive over the top, a springboard dive over the barricades onto a huge crowd of people. A lot of stuff with Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy is a much better wrestler than he was a year or two ago.
Yes.
I think both Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy have a lot of star potential in different ways.
Yep, they do.
And this ended where Luchasaurus was stuck on the outside after he did a huge dive, and they basically were able to double team Jungle Boy. They gave him a couple super kicks. Jungle Boy kicked out a couple times.
Yeah.
And then they gave him the BTE trigger, which is the 2 double knees, and then Matt pinned Jungle Boy. But they gave Jungle Boy a lot in this match. It wasn't like the Young Bucks. This is how you can beat somebody, especially if they're young, and still make them look like a star.
They had him kick out a lot of their stuff, a lot of their big stuff. He didn't look weak at all. And I'll be honest, I thought this was good. The Bucks, they're another one that I've got to improve. But I felt this was better for them because I do watch all the Being the Elite episodes, and I do see, which is one of my favorite shows to watch on YouTube. It is, but sometimes they do stuff where their acting is just right. But tonight they were much better. I think they're getting there, especially Nick. Nick is definitely more of the heel between the two brothers, I think, naturally. He did some good Dickie heel stuff tonight, and it looked very natural for him.
And they were heels, on the independents for a long time. They were heels in New Japan. The original Bullet Club was a big heel group. So
yeah, but is it going anywhere? Was it just for this match? We've seen the Bucks before with Pentagon and Phoenix where they start to act heelish, but it doesn't go anywhere. To me, this match seemed redundant.
It can't go anywhere with FTR being heels.
Right. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, because that's the next match, right? The Bucks versus FTR. And Bucks have to be the babyface. So why act heelish? They should be the babyface.
Actually, now you say that, I don't get it.
Yeah. It makes no sense. And on top of that, I feel like they've done this match or variations of it for so many months. It was an action-packed, this should have been the opener. It just gets you into it, but...
I love this match, for the record. On the record, I was going to say, this was an A+ match for me. I'm just being honest. For me.
Okay. Matt loved it, so I'll shit on it real quick.
I have 4.25.
I just thought it's just kind of the same stuff you see from him. I think they beat Jungle Boy too much. He took the pin here. He's been losing just a ton. And I think Jungle Boy has to get out of this gimmick. Luchasaurus too. The dinosaur stuff, it's too goofy. At some point, if he wants to be a star, he has to get rid of that dinosaur crap and get rid of the mask. Jungle Boy needs to move on his own, be Jack Perry. And you got two stars.
I totally disagree with the Luchasaurus thing. Luchasaurus was he's been wrestling forever.
He's not over.
He looks like a movie star.
Yeah, and their segments.
He doesn't need that mask.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that it's a huge.
You hype up a Luchasaurus versus X match for next week. It's not going to do a difference in ratings.
But more importantly, you're okay with him talking his little dinosaur jokes and his promos and stuff?
I think
80 million years ago, I was doing this.
I do think that has I think that has run its course. The speaking portion of that, I do agree. I see a guy with a marketable gimmick. I see it popular with kids. I see it popular with people. You have Reggie Miller was on. Reggie Miller was on TNT saying that the Luchasaurus is his kid's favorite wrestler. If he's just
cool.
What was his name? I'm trying to remember his name in NXT. I can't remember off the top of my head. Judas Draven, something like that.
I'm sure there were kids that liked the Red Rooster too, but ultimately it was Hulk Hogan that really sold to kids.
He's a good-looking dude. I'm serious.
Yeah, exactly.
He's jacked. He's athletic. He's not some ugly dude and he's under a hood. He looks like a rock star.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't
he's
get
got
why.
a star look.
But like, by the same time, what Jesse's saying is true too, though, right? You can see people buying a shit ton of masks, a bunch of kids buying those masks. I don't know. But when he's so much bigger than everybody on that roster and looks so much different than them all, I don't see why he needs to have that hood. He's a giant.
I know that as the audience that AEW is trying to appeal to, that 18 to 49 audience, as soon as they hear someone cutting a promo saying 60 million years ago, my ancestors were wiped out or whatever, they're just like, oh, that's goofy pro wrestling shit, as opposed to taking it seriously.
I think if he was a
real quick, Michael Ryan saying the name Big Swole sucks. She needs rebranding.
I do. She's not Big and Swole. Like Big Swole should be a bodybuilder.
Right.
I think it's fine.
Jackson Collins giving you some props there,
$5
Jesse.
from me. Thank you, Jackson.
Great to see you back, Jackson. Much respect to you. Have fun, boys. Thank you, Jackson.
Thank you, Jackson.
Great friend of the show. Thank you, Jackson. And Ben Frank since 93 with the $10 super chat saying, Dustin does not get nearly enough credit for being in the shape he is in and working as hard as he does. His first match was in 1990 and he's still on point. He looks amazing.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, I see some of these guys in their
we'll
early
get to
50s. Yeah, I see some of these guys in their early 50s.
But Dustin, he wrestles like he's in his 30s.
Yeah.
It's not like there's certain areas where he's slow or anything. He moves so fluid. Like, it's pretty insane.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching... I'll say it's true for Dustin. I was watching as well. I was watching the New Japan show last week and watching Minoru Suzuki, who's like 52. He's 6 months younger than Bill Goldberg. And he's out there like having a 20-minute match. It's like 90 degrees outside. And he's just like killing it, doing all this stuff. And Dustin's the same way. This guy's been wrestling at a national level since like, when did he debut? Like 1990? Like, when was I wonder when his first match in WCW was. It was, you know.
Well, I remember back in gosh, Matt, you remember back when the $1 Million Man and Dustin Rhodes had that 10-minute challenge where Dustin Rhodes had the last 10 minutes. I think that wasn't
his first.
That was 90.
Though, was it?
That was his first exposure on the national scene. I think that was 1990 because that was after that SummerSlam. When Sapphire went with Ted DiBiase.
Yeah, I know that part of the storyline, but I thought he was already wrestling by this point with NWA or whatever.
Yeah, the first match on the Wrestling Database for Dustin's in 1988. He was teamed with Kendall Windham as part of the Texas Broncos he was wrestling his first match in this database. It was on TBS in 1988. So
yeah, but in a big storyline, the first one was that with his father, with Dusty.
But he's been wrestling on national TV for basically 32 years.
Yeah, it's impressive as hell. Wow. Manish Maloo saying, we say top guys in WWE can't cut good promos. Who in AEW other than MJF, Y2J, Rhodes Brothers, and Mox can cut good promos? Plus WWE has better storylines currently.
For AEW for promos,
yeah.
I think he's right on that.
Yeah,
he nailed everybody there, I think.
Yeah, the problem is a lot of these young guys want to learn moves and not character and promos. Ooh. And MJF, he has been studying the old school promos and the characters, and that's why he's in the position that he is. One more before we keep moving on. Steezy Preezy saying, not the best AEW pay-per-view tonight, and I see how people got turned off after the horrible Hardy spot, but I still enjoyed matches, especially the tag team match, and we'll get to that Hardy spot. That was freaking nasty.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about the Hardy spot. So we'll keep moving. We had the Battle Royale. Bunch of stuff happened in this. They've done this gimmick a few times where the guys come out 5 at a time. Every 3 minutes, a new wave comes in. Nothing really matters until they all come out. I would say the notable things that happened in this match was they really focused on the Brian Cage, Ricky Starks, Darby Allin feud. They brought out... So Darby Allin eliminated Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks brought out a body bag and threw it in the ring. The body bag was filled with thumbtacks. Brian Cage threw Darby Allin into the body bag filled with thumbtacks, then gave him a power bomb out to like the rampway, the elevated walkway, which is a bump that I'm sure was not fun to take, but Darby's insane, so I guess he's fine. I haven't heard anything about it. That was a key spot. The match came down to, I think, the final 4. We had Lance Archer, the Butcher, Eddie Kingston, and who I'm trying to think of the fourth. Matt Sydal. Oh, a big thing happened with Matt Sydal was he came out as number 21 as like the special surprise thing, and he comes out and he hits the ring and he climbs up the first turnbuckle. There's a guy laying in the ring ready for him to hit the shooting star press, and he slips on the top rope and he landed up. He wrestled the rest of the match, looked fine, but this was I hope he's okay. He said he wrestled. This was a very memorable botch, and Matt Sydal's got name, and he's such a good wrestler that I don't think it's gonna like define him or anything. But he definitely, I can see like you make your debut, and the first thing you do is just this very gift worthy botch. But I'm sure he's gonna be fine.
Who cares? Who won?
Lance Archer ended up winning. This was kind of a convoluted finish, where Lance Archer had Eddie Kingston on the top rope, and Lance Archer was standing on the ring apron, and like Jake Roberts was ringside, and he had the snake, and like I guess the idea was he was showing Eddie Kingston the snake, and Eddie Kingston was afraid of the snake, and so Lance Archer ended up taking Eddie Kingston and giving him like one of those like elevated choke slams and tossing him onto the Butcher and the Blade, who are on the outside. So Lance Archer wins, and I believe he's got the title shot. If that's correct.
He does.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think?
If this was nothing, you said what happened with the thumbtack spot in the body bag. Everything else in this, I couldn't care any less about. Wasting my time.
Matt Sydal, I had actually just interviewed him like 2 weeks ago, and the interview is supposed to come out this week, so all the questions I had about AEW are kind of meaningless now. But man, I love Matt Sydal. It's great to see him, on a national platform. He's so ultra talented. Ty Dillinger, Sean Spears, do you think he's any better off now than he was when he was in NXT, when he was at his top in NXT?
Oh, no, not when he's in NXT. He's a lower mid-card heel.
Yeah, I mean...
Which I don't understand why.
He's got the look. He's got...
His promos are fine. I don't know what's wrong here. I don't know why he's not treated more serious. I don't know why he doesn't get some bigger wins. Yeah. They screwed him when he lost to Cody. He should not have lost to Cody.
It wasn't even sliding down the ladder. He was dumped into a pit. So it was, at least Lance Archer is getting something. They're rehabbing him a little. They rehab Brody. Right. Actually, we'll get to the Dark Order match here in a little bit. But at least they're rehabbing him a little. Lance Archer's a monster, and he should be portrayed as such, protect those guys. So
I think Lance has like great star presence. Just when you see him in the ring and he hits his moves, I think he stands out
in the ring. But when you see him do his promos, he seems very forced, and there is something where he doesn't come across as a natural. Like he doesn't. He seems like he's acting.
He seems like he's playing a character.
Yes, exactly, yeah. And that's where I feel like he needs to work on that.
One thing in this match that's kind of small, but they had Will Hobbs, who's just been like an AEW dark guy. And he was in the match, and they gave him spots, and he eliminated a few guys. And
he was in the mix. He looked good.
Yeah, he's a bigger guy. He's got kind of he's got like an eye-catching body. Like you see him,
does.
Who's this guy? He looks like a real athlete. I'm sure
his gear looks good. His boots look good. On top of it, I know it sounds like a small thing, but he looked like a star tonight to me.
And I like
Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston is just the dude is killing it. I would like to see him change his gear up a little bit, do something different. Yes. But he's wearing 80s jobber gear, but he comes across when he talks
he's
like his total star.
Gear, but as soon as he opens his mouth, he's got me.
He's honoring Toshiaki Kawada with the black and yellow. That's the whole point of the gear.
I think he's got a bet. Oh, of course he is.
Of course.
My God.
How did we miss that?
I'm going to wake up my wife to go tell her that because she'll care.
Like, Anjali, you didn't get that?
No.
Anjali, this...
No. I actually noticed that today, like when he was wearing the black and yellow. I'm like, he's wearing Kawada gear. I think he's got a bad body.
I have wrestled against and with Kawada thousands of times for what were we on the Monster team for? Hustle.
Yeah, I was gonna say Hustle.
And I didn't even know that about his gear.
Kawada's my favorite wrestler of all time. I think. So
that's why when Dudley's came there to Hustle, they couldn't believe Kawada was there and doing all this silliness because you don't understand Kawada's like a real badass here. Yeah. Man. Like for him to be doing any of this nonsense is crazy. It'd be like Bruno Sammartino doing this, man. Look at it that way. Because I didn't understand why they made such a big deal about him being there.
And to that point, when we're talking about Kingston and Lance Archer, when you hear Kingston talk, he sounds like you would believe everything he's saying.
Great talk.
Lance Archer sounds like,
He would,
yeah, man, you're gonna get it. You know, like it's just the.
Well, you don't think people talk and yell, "Everybody dies"? You don't think people really talk like that?
Yeah. And Jake hasn't been killing it. Jake sounds like Jesus Christ.
Jake's been a little outclassed by Taz.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know everyone loves Jake, and he's a great talker in his own way. But I think in the pre-tapes he's fine, but live,
cool.
It just hasn't worked with him and Taz. And I think Taz has been a great talker.
Yeah.
All right.
Ben Franks.
Ben Frank since '93, 499 super chat says, Matt, as a friend of Bill W, just have to say thank you. Inspired to dream too big every time I listen and see you. That's awesome. Congratulations, Ben Frank.
Thank you.
Proud of you. That's good shit, brother. Keep going.
And Mitch Orbsby said, Matt Sydal had the funniest, saddest debut ever. Could you imagine if AJ slipped during the phenomenal forearm when he debuted at the Rumble? Yikes. I was
worried.
It's lower stakes. Lower stakes, though, for like if AJ botched it at the Rumble, it would never be. He'd be dead.
I think he'll recover.
No, he's fine.
Yeah,
he's fine.
Stevie Parisi.
Fine.
Yeah.
If anything, it might help him.
Shockmaster debut or Seidel debut. Jesus Christ. That's
down.
not the same zip code.
Calm down.
Yeah.
Will Hobbs needs to be someone's project. Dude has got potential.
He does.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason he was chosen for that spot, in the Battle Royal. He's someone looking out for him. So we're going to move on here. Our next match here, let me just scroll down here. We had the Broken Rules match with Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara. So this match started out. Matt Hardy was in the entrance tunnel for the football field, and he was looking for Sammy Guevara, and Sammy was in the golf cart, and Sammy drove down. They did the recreation of the famous meme where Matt and Kenny are chasing after Sammy in the golf cart. So Matt dodges the golf cart, and then they brawl a little bit, and then they climb up the what do you call it? Like a scissors lift, or I don't know, like the platform that goes up. So they go up here. They're about 10 or 12 feet, maybe higher off the ground, and they do this spot where Sammy spears him off of the platform, and they're supposed to go through two tables that are set up. And Matt Hardy smacks his head on the concrete, and he looks like he's unconscious. And it is, you can find it online. It was one of the worst bumps I can remember someone taking, on live television. The ref's over by Matt. You can see Sammy trying to stall. Aubrey Edwards, who's the ref, flashes the X sign. They get up and they try to brawl, but Matt is clearly out of it. It's very scary. And Aubrey goes, "We got to call the match. I'm done." The doctor runs in. They get Sammy out of there. They kind of stay with the shot. You can see them still going, and they're like, "Oh, I can't believe this match ended." And then after maybe 2 or 3 minutes max, maybe it was less than that, they announced this match must have a winner. And Matt and Sammy come back out. They're now on the stage. They climb up the rigging of the light rigging, and Matt pushes off Sammy from the rigging, and he crashes through. He probably fell 10 or 12 feet himself, but much safer. And he doesn't answer the 10 count. And so Matt ends up winning. And the stipulation was that Matt can stay. He was going to have to leave AEW if he didn't win. So he wins. But
yes,
this was Matt Hardy. That match continuing, I think, is the worst moment in AEW history. I really felt uncomfortable about this.
Yeah, this was not good. This was no bueno. I'm guessing they checked on him when they thought the match was done, and they said they could pull this off, obviously, just to climb the truss, and then, Sammy just take a dive, right, and fall. Mm-hmm. But because that was obviously a planned bump, right? So that was probably what the finish was supposed to be.
Yeah, I think they just ran to the finish. We got to do the finish.
Yeah, but it was just a shame to watch. You don't want to see, Matt's toward the end of his career. You want to see him take care of himself, obviously. I don't think he did it on purpose, right? Don't think he wanted that to happen. So hopefully all the best to him. I have no doubt in my mind he's concussed as hell. And fingers crossed for him. Hopefully he takes time off with this concussion. A lot of time off.
I couldn't tell if they had filmed that part of the match yesterday or if it was today, because if they let him continue just like that, that's completely irresponsible.
I
It
agree.
is. It is if they did. If
Yeah.
they did, it is.
I mean, that's bullshit. So if it was one of those things where it was yesterday and then today he said I could just do the last couple minutes where I'm not taking any bumps, you know, if it was live, there's no excuse for them to have them continue on.
Yeah, I totally agree. I thought, here was the thing with me, was that I thought about Katsuri Shibata, who famously
Of course.
got a
Yeah.
concussion.
We all thought about Katsuri.
Me
Yeah.
too, bro. Me too, bro.
He headbutted a guy.
Yeah, that was nasty.
Yeah, he got, he clearly suffered a concussion. He finished the match. He collapsed backstage. He was brought to the hospital and he almost died. I forget the name of what happened, but he basically had a bunch of blood seeping into his brain. I think he had to relearn to walk. His wrestling career is over. And immediately after this match, that's all I could think about I hope Matt Hardy's okay. I can't confirm anything. I saw just Brian Alvarez saying that Matt Hardy got transported to the hospital.
Damn.
And Shivani on the broadcast an hour or two later said that they checked on Matt Hardy. Dr. Sampson checked on Matt Hardy. They said he was okay to continue and that they're fine and nothing. I hope that's the case. On television, it looked like there was no way he can continue. I'm obviously not a doctor, but it seemed very, like I said, I'm with Raj. I think it was really irresponsible. And the other thing is that it just freaked everyone out. So then the next thing you do is another high spot where someone's falling off a platform. And that was the last thing that I wanted to see, was just to see another crazy high stunt like that. And, Matt's a pro. Matt Hardy has fallen through more tables off of high structures than probably anyone except for his brother. But, these guys take real risks. And I thought that spot looked unsafe. I think taking a spear like that with only 2 tables to catch you seemed unsafe to me. I'm obviously not a worker. I'm obviously not Matt Hardy, but that was very, very scary. And I think it really hampered the show. When I think about the show, I'll think about that spot. And I hope Matt's okay. And I hope he can come back and keep wrestling. But goddamn, that was not fun at all. Very uncomfortable.
It was scary. I don't see if the whole thing did happen tonight. I think it's completely irresponsible to have him going on concussed to continue doing.
Yeah,
it
and it's
pushing.
not. This isn't someone separating. Tearing their bicep or tearing their quadricep and gutting out the match. Or this isn't like one of those things where you can just be a tough guy and tough it out. And I'm sure
Yeah.
Matt can
real
speak
quick,
more.
Justin Lopez saying, I don't get it. If you're going to do a spot like that, why wasn't there any protection on a hard floor? If that was a fucking high spot, why was there no protection?
I don't have an answer. I don't know.
That was, yeah. David Oakley saying, what do you think of Kip Sabian's Twitch jab at WWE? Did not see that. Do you think wrestlers would leave or not sign with WWE? Okay, we'll get to that later after this show.
Yeah.
James
Yes, I do.
Glenn's son is very knowledgeable.
The first part, I think I'll take as an insult. The second part, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Joey Jordan saying, I think it's AEW needs to put limits on Matt. I mean, at some point, if they're going to fight backstage or do a high spot from that high onto the concrete.
I mean, but come on, you listen to veterans who've been doing this for so long. I mean, did Paul Heyman go to Terry Funk and tell him, hey, don't do the barbed wire spot here? And then when he got stuck in barbed wire, it was impossible. They had to cut it off him and stuff. I mean, where do you draw that line? You do draw that line if he got concussed and they still had him go out. I don't think that. I think what you first said, Raj, is probably how I'm hoping is how it went down. But even then, one could argue he could have slipped, meaning today they had him do it again. Right, for the pre-tape purposes of this, another day he's feeling better, whatever have you. But once you have a concussion, that is there for a while. Even if you feel better and you're not puking and daylight's not hurting your eyes, you're still concussed, and you can't see the wound because it's inside your head. You have to let it heal. And that's what makes these things so sketchy and so tight and so worrisome.
And there's no way it's his first concussion.
I legit have 21 registered, so I assure you Matt's had more.
Yeah.
All right. So keep in mind, then they ask him to what the next, even if it's the next day, say, all right, climb up the truck. Even that is worrisome to me. He could have slipped. Anything bad could have happened.
And it's starting to look like this all did happen tonight, which is even worse. Like to not stop it after that bump.
So it was all live?
Yeah.
Damn.
Michael Ryan saying this is Matt Hardy's second concussion in less than 30 days. This one could be retirement, not by his choice. I mean, we'll see. Concussions affect different people different ways. Peter is saying match wasn't live. Khan had paused the match. It did seem to me like there was there was a shift. So I that's why I thought that.
Even so, I would say even 2 days later after a concussion like that, I'm telling you, that's a bad.
Yeah, you don't have someone climbing a high. Yeah,
he could have slipped.
Yeah. Mike G. Oh, he's talking about the Darby body bag spot was pretty bad as well.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! So Darby Allin, I forgot to say this earlier, but dude,
what are you doing?
Cut it down 30%. You're not going to make it to 35 in the ring.
Oof. It was crazy.
You cut it down 35%, you'll be just as over.
And Darby, we can't see your face. We can't see your body in there. So
right.
You're taking this horrific bump. We can't, as crazy people, enjoy your bump because we can't see your body. We have no idea how you hit. Were you sitting up? Were you not? What did your back get hit? Did your neck get hit? Did your face get hit? I don't know. It's not worth it. That bump is not worth it. It's very creative though to be put in a bag with thumbtacks. To be clear, but you could not pay me all the money in the world to do that. No way.
Well, they've talked about...
Someone's a big fan of you here. Justin greater than Matt. Justin greater than Glenn. Much better than Raj. Go fuck yourself, Bobby.
Honestly, isn't that just
how about that, Bobby?
Isn't that just like...
How about them apples?
Isn't that just like a power ranking from 5 to 1 of who's been on this podcast the most? It's just exposure. I'm like the new face coming up from NXT. So people, I'm over now. But
Buddy Barlow, no, literally the show was 100% live. It wasn't. The Britt Baker stuff was taped before.
Yeah, so hot.
So moving on, we had the women's match. Now I did think that this match was in a difficult spot coming off of the Matt Hardy match where everyone shocked it. But this was Hikaru Shida versus Thunder Rosa. They had a very kind of I thought this was a good physical match. I think this has a case to being the best women's match in AEW's women's history. I know people will think that's not saying a lot, but it was a good match. Thunder Rosa this was a classic, like Thunder Rosa is doing the job, so she's gonna add some music. Thunder Rosa is doing the job.
Some news coming out, guys. I'll alert it on the podcast here in a second.
So Thunder Rosa is doing the job. So she takes 80% of the match. I think my takeaway from this match, which is Hikaru Shida won with her knee strike finish, was that AEW's got to find a way to get Thunder Rosa on the show more. I think she's got it in the ring. I think she's got it in the personality. I think I don't know what the contract situation is with the NWA. I don't know how many dates they can use her. I don't know if they can just use her full time. Obviously, the NWA I don't think is taping right now. I think she's got to stick around because this division desperately needs someone like that.
So, dear Jesse, just say what happens in the match because if you say you give us the breakdown, there's nothing for us to talk about. I have nothing to add to that. Zero. I have nothing to add to that. You hit everything there was to hit on that match. I got nothing.
Do you think Thunder Rosa should have won?
I do. I thought maybe I was thinking that just because I like her more. I don't really care for the other. I can't even say the girl's name properly.
Yeah.
I don't care about her. I do like Thunder Rosa a lot because I was a big NWA mark. So I don't know. What do? Do you really have somebody come in and beat your champ though? I don't know.
Yeah, that's the politics of it, right? This is they said she was the NWA champion. They put over that title. They had Billy Corgan. Weirdly, only Billy Corgan's voice in the video package. But I think there's a case. You could have put the title on her and have her drop it in 2 or 3 weeks.
It's interesting that they're promoting NWA. Granted, they're not a threat, but they haven't done it yet with the U.S. promotion. So,
and by the way, the NWA title looks better than AEW's did, I thought.
Yeah?
The title looks great. The NWA title's great. So then, real quick, we had the Alex Marvez interviewing Kip Sabian and
Real
Penelope
quick.
Ford.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, you have news, don't you?
Arian Gomez going to two new AEW second women's title holder, Nyla. Riho and Cheetah were unbelievable women's champion holders. To me, Britt is going to be a great champ too.
I think she will be. Yeah.
She is the best in that division, in my opinion. I you know what? I didn't get to say anything about Thunder Rosa, but I thought she looked great here. I think she this was a
good wrestling style.
It was a star-making performance. Like, it's just one of those that's going to get her noticed, and in a year from now, she's going to be in a high position. Clyde is saying, I want to be excited about something as much as JR gets about picture-in-picture. Don't you dare!
Right. We're going to picture-in-picture.
Oh, don't you go away picture-in-picture, folks.
Raj, do you have news you want to break now, or do you want to wait?
No, I'm waiting.
Okay. So, real quick, there was a segment. Alex Marvez was backstage interviewing Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford. I wasn't
Holy
really
shit, that shirt that Penelope Ford was wearing.
I wasn't really paying attention to what Kip Sabian was saying.
I don't think anybody was.
Kip Sabian announced that they're getting married and that they're going to do a segment where Kip Sabian is teasing someone as his best man. I think it's going to be Brock Lesnar, personally. No, I'm joking, Matt.
You had me.
But that's going to be a segment. I guess they're probably going to do a wedding angle, which is, I know that's something WWE would do. I think Kip Sabian just needs a new tag team partner because he was doing all that work with Jimmy Havoc, and Jimmy Havoc is out of there. So,
hey, Matt, I wanted to ask you about this the other night. Doesn't it seem like AEW is doing a lot of WWE-ish segments lately?
Sports entertainment.
Like with the Battle Royale, you know how WWE, anytime we talk about this all the time, when there's a Money in the Bank match, you have the one guy saying how he's going to win, then the next wrestler comes out saying, no, I'm going to win, and then the next wrestler comes out, then the next wrestler comes out, and then everyone's in there, and then they fight. They did that on AEW this past on Dynamite with the Battle Royale. It's just this the formulaic stuff that's lazy. And now with the wedding segment, unless they come up with something super cool, it just seems like they're.
But those are two things. I will not compare them to WWE and saying that they're copying them because it's weddings. There's always weddings in wrestling.
Sure.
The guys coming out on top of each other in staggered progression that I'm going to win. No, I'm going to win. Yeah. That's a little WWE Monday Night Raw-ish right after a big WrestleMania. And then they say there's a top 6 contenders match or some shit like that. And then like Booker comes out, then like Cena would come out, then Michaels would come out. Then yes.
Mm-hmm. Teddy Long makes a tag team match.
Yeah. Yes. Tonight we'll have a 6-way.
Yes.
But there was, it might be noteworthy, but at the end, Kip Sabian held up a sign that said you can follow him on Twitch. And then there was a little thing at the bottom that said All Elite Wrestling approves this sponsorship of this message. So that was an obvious shot at WWE.
Yeah.
Next up, we had this. We had an 8-man tag. It was Dustin Rhodes, Scorpio Sky, Matt Cardona, and QT Marshall taking on the Dark Order, which was Brody Lee, Colt Cabana, Stu Grayson, and Evil Uno. This match went kind of long. It was just an 8-man tag. I mean, it seemed like a match you'd see on Dynamite. The finish ended up happening with Brody Lee basically laying out Dustin Rhodes, telling Colt Cabana that he can pin him. Colt, I think he went for a moonsault off the top.
Yep.
And then missed. Dustin rolled him up and got the pin. So the idea, and if the previous matches have been like Brody Lee hits his finisher and Colt gets the pin with the idea that Brody's like getting Colt wins. And then the story was
this was really good. This was good storytelling, I thought, actually. I know a lot of people are either up or down on Dark Order, but for that storyline with Colt specifically, I thought it was good. I thought Colt played his part really well too, actually. I liked the little twist at the end, believe it or not, with Evil Uno helping him up and walking
I like that.
Out.
That was small, but it makes sense.
A little detail. And those
the announcers
put it over too.
Yeah, I like it.
That was good. Matt Cardona looked friggin' awesome. Jesus Christmas, he's jacked. I don't know if everybody's just smaller in AEW or what, but
yeah, they are.
When any of these WWE guys go there, they're like 20,000 times bigger than everybody.
Yeah, Zack Ryder looks like freaking Brock Lesnar there.
Yes, he does. Yes,
But
he does.
I do gotta say, like, Brody Lee just came off of crushing Cody Rhodes, and then he's in this competitive match, and he's on the losing side of the spectrum. From a storytelling point, he should have just killed Dustin Rhodes, as part of this.
To be fair, he did have the match won. He hit his discus clothesline gimmick, and that dude was laid out. That match was done. He could have won it himself and covered the guy. He told Colt to come take it. Colt effed it all up. So I don't see a loss.
But he wasn't dominating the whole match. You know what I mean? It was like, remember when Brock Lesnar killed John Cena? Like, after he beat Undertaker and he just destroyed John Cena. If his next match, he was in an 8-man tag, and it's a long match, and he's on the losing end, that would have made no sense. And I just feel like you just got some rocket straps on Brody. Just have him destroy these guys.
Here's what you do. You don't have him in the match at all. You have all the other Dark Order guys in it instead of him.
Yeah.
And then after the match is done, he comes in and gets
kills everyone.
And kills everyone. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I think he's going to wreck Dustin on Wednesday.
Yes, he will.
It seemed like, to me, it kind of felt like they should have done the 8-man tag on Dynamite and then done the Dustin versus Brody Lee match tonight. I know the TNT title, I guess the idea is to have the title defended on TNT. TV. But it did seem like this was kind of like backwards from what you would normally see, which is because it felt like kind of a filler match to me. Like,
it was. Most of the show felt like filler, honestly.
And you only have 4 pay-per-views.
The last 2 matches were the only ones that felt like they meant something.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll move on. Then we had the tag team title match. This was a pretty long match. This was FTR versus Kenny and Hangman.
This was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Basically, FTR dominates the match. They work over Kenny's leg, and they end up beating and winning the titles kind of like pretty handily. Like, they were basically worked over Kenny's leg. Kenny couldn't get back in the ring. They hit, I think, 2 spike pile drivers on Hangman, and they pin him, and they're the new champs. They're undefeated. They're looking good.
They are. So really quick, this was great psychology. I said it earlier about working Kenny's leg. The back-to-back dragon screw leg whips were freaking amazingly well done. That's not an easy move to take, by the way. I botched that. Muda gave it to me. I had no idea he was going to give it to me. How stupid am I? That's like the only thing the guy does. But nonetheless, this was an awesome match. Love the psychology in it. But one thing I didn't like, and I love FTR, but they should not be doing misdirections. These two should never, under any circumstances, have a Kenny Omega duck something and then clothesline the other one. It looked like Keystone Cops. They are the upper echelon of tag teams. They should be the only ones where that shit doesn't ever happen. Not even once. Yeah. And they did it twice tonight.
I love this match. I hated that they kicked out of a spike pile driver. I think Paige kicked out of one. I feel like that's one of those moves. When something looks like it could kill you, don't kick out of it. And they did a second one, and that did end it. But I love this match. I always love teams where I always love matches where it looks like you're trying to get the win, where it's like an athletic contest where you're trying to get the win, as opposed to a dance where you're trying to show off moves. And a lot of wrestling nowadays is a dance where you're trying to show off moves, and I prefer this where it means something to win. And
it was
the
ugly.
guys
It was ugly at the end when Kenny was trying to get in. It looked ugly. It looked like Kenny shouldn't have been there. It looked like he was out of place trying to get in there to break up the pin, which I thought worked.
Yeah,
it made it look ugly, which was good.
Yes,
like grungy, like you know what I mean. I don't know how to explain it. I just thought it worked even more towards this match style. Yeah. This was the best match, obviously, but one of the best matches. I say 1B to my 1A box, but go ahead.
And Matt, to your point, that Brock Lesnar John Cena match I was talking about at SummerSlam, where he just kicked the hell out of him. No, a bunch of false finishes or anything. It was just dirty. It was grungy. It was just
uncomfortable at times.
It was uncomfortable. Yeah.
When it was done, it had a statement.
Yeah, and it you remember it
Yeah.
And I just thought
We all
FTR
do.
was just great here. I loved FTR. This felt like a star-making performance.
Yeah, I thought FTR gained a lot because they wrestled this match entirely like an FTR, like that kind of style they want to do. They were very physical. They were on top. They worked the body part, and they won the match, without like doing maybe like the same amount of dramatic near falls. And I think they really gained. They haven't lost yet. They've been protected in AEW. They got Tully as their manager now. I think they're looking great, and I think I like the idea that they wrestle a different style than, say, the Young Bucks, because then you'll have fans that like the FTR style, and you'll have fans that like the Young Bucks style, and it'll be a real organic rivalry where you'll have people on both sides saying, I want this team to win, and I want that team to win. And I think that's a really good dynamic they got going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kazarian Axe saying, I have to agree with Matt. Kenny was very close to AJ Styles as the two best wrestlers in the world, and now I can honestly say there is a huge gap. Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't even,
AJ's
when
not
I think of the best
wrestler
wrestler in the world, Kenny Omega is no longer in that equation.
No.
Clyde, ZAR, I'm not sure what
South
currency.
African currency.
Okay. AEW guys are just short, I think. One saw Roman on a life, and he was 6'1" at most. No way. Roman's not 6'1".
I think he's 6'3".
I've met Roman. He's taller. I'm 6, and he's probably like 6'4", 6'5". But by the way, big fan from South Africa. I never miss a podcast, even when I didn't watch the show. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And
South
then,
Africa is on my bucket list. I really want to go there.
Travis Huffman saying, Omega is so awkward. He'll never be over with the mainstream U.S. market. Cornetta's 100%. Omega's character is comic book, Japanese women's wrestling fan. His character, I don't see it going across borders.
No comment.
And Justin Lopez saying FTR first, NXT, Raw, SmackDown, and AEW tag team champions. All right.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So then we had the Mimosa Mayhem match. So this match starts at 11 p.m. So we're already 3 hours into the show, and 4 hours if you count the show. I thought it went pretty long. They did all the they had the big vats of mimosa set up on both sides, and they kept doing the teasing spots where the guy's pretending he's going to fall in. He's wobbling close. The finish came when what do you want to finish? So he Superman punched, or he orange punched Jericho a few times, into the vat. So the big story is Orange Cassidy gets the win. I was entertained at certain points. I think this feud has run its course. What do you guys think?
It definitely has. And I'm glad it's done. That's all I got.
I hope it's done.
I think this has brought Jericho down in a weird way. I mean, it's Jericho should be used in a much better way. I just feel like it's not the best use of Jericho. I thought Orange Cassidy after Pac was that was the perfect way to use him. Like underneath, not in the top spot, not with the top guy, but underneath, just impressive as hell. And gosh, in this, I just did not care about this match. I just feel like they're both not in the right spots. I know Jericho, in his promo when he's saying Orange Cassidy is the main eventer, he came across as so desperate, like desperately trying to say that this guy belongs.
I had a problem with that too.
Right? Like
I didn't like that. That made me very uncomfortable. I was like, no, Chris, I love you, but no, stop saying that. No, he's not.
And if Stone Cold's like, yeah, The Rock's a main eventer, it just feels like you're just trying to, you're forcing it. But you don't say it. People know. You don't have to say that.
And something else, this was very big, and they need to put this note in front of these announcers moving forward. Stop calling them kids. Stop calling them kids, Tony. It makes them look like jabronis. Stop doing that. Stop saying these kids are really, and JR does it too. Yeah. Like, only Marco Stunt would I ever refer to as a kid if I'm an announcer. It completely punks these guys out. Don't do it. They're grown-ass men. They have kids. They have families. They're not kids. Stop calling them that.
Exactly. Here, Justin Lopez noting JR throughout the match, calling Cassidy a young kid when he's 36. Treat them like men.
They are.
You don't want a cowboy. You're like, that young lad. That young lad, John Wayne, is going to do all right.
Like this isn't OVW. Like this isn't like these up and comer whippersnappers. Like these are, you know what I mean? These are the main acts. These are men and women. Don't call them kids. I hate that. I couldn't stand it.
100%.
I think for a few wrestlers, part of their appeal is that they're like really young. So I think it's
Jungle Boy, fine.
Yeah, I think that, like, with Jungle Boy is a good example. Is a guy like, oh, he's like this young kid. He's got total potential. That's fine. People like Orange Cassidy who, don't have that same kind of vibe.
I think it hurts
agree.
MJF. I think it hurts MJF.
I do too.
When he calls him a little prick or a little Richard or a little, it just makes him look like a puss. Like, it makes him look like a kid too.
Wrestling ultimately is a scripted sport, and it's a scripted guy kicking the shit out of another guy, and you want to be a man's man, not a kid.
Yes.
So we'll go. Well, we did get.
If in a Rocky movie, they're not like Drago's great kid. This kid's got like when Drago's killing Apollo. Hey, that kid he's got something.
That big Russian kid.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, well, we have reached the stage where Orange Cassidy is being compared to Ivan Drago.
Farthest thing from it.
So,
Main event.
we're moving on. They announced that Full Gear's on November 7th. Then we got the main event. Jon Moxley retained his title over MJF. They worked a long match. MJF did a blade job. It was. I thought it was a good match. The problem, I think, was that it was just getting really late. I think the audio and stuff just didn't feel like a hot match for most of it, even though I thought the work was really good. And the finish came when Wardlow threw in the ring to MJF that he uses as a foreign object in his matches. And while the referee was talking to Wardlow, Jon Moxley hit the paradigm shift, which of course was banned from the match prior to it. And then he was able to get the win off of that. So Jon Moxley used the banned move to get the win. MJF is not the title. It's his first singles loss, I think, in AEW. It's his first. And so this was a big match. I think there's a big decision to be made whether MJF should have won the title tonight.
He should. He should have done the paradigm shift on him, and they should have changed the title right there. It would have protected everybody.
Ooh.
I feel like Moxley as champion has been underwhelming. I don't think he has that super main event charisma that you need for a top babyface.
But by the same token, those promos have been really goddamn good.
I think Moxley's been great. I think he's been great as a champion. I think he's been great with his promos. I think he's had very interesting matches. I think he's been done an amazing job as a champion. He was the perfect choice.
I don't know. I still wouldn't have taken it off Jericho. I don't think. I think I'd still have him as my champion now.
I wouldn't either. I feel like he's only had one match and that was the Brian Cage match where ratings went up with his match. His segments haven't been drawing. He hasn't. I just feel like there's something missing.
You're right on that. I know what you're saying. I don't know what it is because by the things I usually define it by would be a promo or in-ring work, right? But his in-ring work for me is fine, and his promos are freaking awesome. So I don't get what it is either. But I know what you're talking about because I feel the same way when they're going off the air with him holding the title. I'm like, that's their top guy. It doesn't feel there's something off here. I don't know what it is.
Right. Like if he's an up and coming guy, it's like, oh, he's gonna get there. But as a top guy, it's like he's not. There's some. There's.
And is that because I'm comparing him to Jericho maybe as champion? I don't know. If that's my reasoning for it.
I mean, but compare that. Like, look at Moxley and compare that to Jericho. It's a big difference.
It is a big difference. Jericho really brought that company up big time.
Yeah.
It felt
I feel like MJF. I think it would have shaken things up a little bit if he got the win there. Like if he won that title.
I wasn't anti MJF winning the title, but I'm also not mad that Moxley's still a champion. I think he's done. Like I said, I think he's done a great job. And I think one thing about this show in general is that I think I had to say it. I think the Thunderdome is a little bit superior in atmosphere wise, and it might just be because of the sound sweetening. And I know that's fake, and AEW has real fans there, but you couldn't hear them for most of the show.
But there's not enough fans there to make a difference.
Right.
That's not fair. It's like 10% fill.
I know, but they're not doing the sound sweetening, I think, because the fans are there. Because why do the sound sweetening if you don't have fans there?
And it's the visual. The Thunderdome's visual, for me, when I watch, is the big difference. It makes it look like there's fans going boinkers in the background. And for visual purposes, I think it works. It's much better.
I get what you're saying, Jesse. Like the Thunderdome, it's not a legit reaction you're getting, but it is superior atmosphere.
There are just parts.
It is the closest thing to what we had before the pandemic. with the Thunderdome. As
I mean,
far as
they're not
atmosphere.
going crazy with crowd sweetening. It's not like when they lock up, the fans lose their shit. You know
Well,
what I mean?
well, no.
Yeah, no, it's
The
calm.
reactions are all
So-
all
so-
CGI basically.
But
Those aren't real.
Yeah.
But I know that, but I'm not. What I'm saying is like they're not giving talents reactions that they're not really gonna go out there and get. Like I
Well,
said,
Roman.
when the bell rings and they lock up again, they're not like going boinkers like they just saw an Undertaker tombstone and Shawn Michaels for the second time at WrestleMania.
Which
They're not.
I'm impressed they can keep it in because I thought they would be doing all these fake chants like all the time. But they,
No, I think the Thunderdome has been amazing. It makes it
I think it
watchable
has.
again. Because I thought it was unwatchable
Although I
in the
hate Raw.
Performance Center.
Although I
there
still
were
hate Raw.
parts.
What's
there
that,
were
Matt?
parts-
I still hate Raw though. Sorry.
but it's not an aesthetic reason. There were parts of this show where
Aesthetically, though, that does it. Raw 3 hours at the Performance Center is way worse than Raw 3 hours at.
Yeah.
there were parts of this show where just you could hear like almost silence. Like there were parts like especially like early on during the FTR Kenny Omega Hangman Page match and FTR's getting the heat, and you could hear a pin drop in that place. And in some ways, I liked it better when like they just had the AEW wrestlers and the assorted people like going crazy because at least then you had some noise going. This was
Listen,
like very
if Billy Gunn's kid's not going boinkers and cheering, like there's nobody making any noise there. He's the only one.
yeah. Well, I think they told them to turn it. They told those people to tone it down at ringside because they have the real fans. But unless you're gonna like mic up the fans better so you can get their reaction better, I don't see the way working. Do you guys know what New Japan's? Do you guys know what New Japan's done with its fans? How they're doing crowd reactions?
Yeah, the button.
So in they have fans there, but as a rule, they say you can't yell, even though they're wearing masks. You can't yell because it's going to spread the virus. That's what they think. So instead, they gave them like these remotes or something, and they give you buttons, and you press it, and like the over the intercom or the PA system, they have like generic crowd cheering, and you can press the button. And it does the Naito chant. It sounds better. I haven't really loved it, but it's a really interesting concept.
How do I see that? I want to look that up.
They did it on the Jingu show.
Well, that's what I think they should do.
That.
With the Thunder, because with the Thunderdome, when you're in, they should just have. I mean, you're digital anyway. Just have two buttons, and you can cheer and boo, and then it does the reaction accordingly. I don't know. All in all, I thought this was the worst AEW pay-per-view, but it wasn't the worst way to spend a Saturday night during a pandemic.
Right.
It was fine.
Really good matches. There were some really good matches.
Yeah.
I do think
the tag matches were good.
Yeah.
The standard has changed. I mean, we've been.
But were they pay-per-view? Were they worth $50?
Because I was so tired. You saw how pissed off I was when this show started tonight. I was angry because I spent $50 wanting to see MJF versus Moxley, and I kept wanting to fall asleep.
Yeah,
because it was so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, $50. I'm happy with it. This wasn't a great show. I found certain points entertaining.
Do we all agree it was the worst AEW pay-per-view so far?
But yeah, I don't even know what you would compare.
Yeah,
every other one.
I think all their pay-per-views are very good. To be fair, though.
Yeah, they were excellent.
I don't know what this was like. Okay, this is definitely what was the bar before. Like, what was the second worst one? I
don't know. I don't know. Let's just compare it to Payback then. I did think Payback was slightly better, which I can't believe I'm even saying that.
I'm already forgetting Payback. Like Payback and SummerSlam and my head are like rubbed in together. Which one was the one Roman turned heel? That was SummerSlam.
That was SummerSlam. Well, he came back.
He won the
end
title
for
at
SummerSlam,
Payback.
and he wins the title at Payback. I thought there were no good matches on Payback, but the storytelling made it entertaining. And Payback was what, like?
Oh yeah,
it was
that was good.
It was like 2 hours and
short
40
and
minutes or something. Yeah,
Short and
that's
sweet.
how the shows needed. This show kind of felt like a WrestleMania or a SummerSlam where like the show's just like super long and some of the stuff is good, but some of the stuff is bad, and at the end you're just kind of fatigued and you can't like really get into the main event because you've been watching for too long.
All right. So Rebby Hardy, she tweeted, "Let me be absolutely effing clear. There is nothing entertaining about a concussion. Shame on everyone in that goddamn building." Jackson Collins bringing up, if taped, why would Matt's wife bash company regarding a concussion during a show? So yeah, I guess it was live. Why would they work that serious of a topic in the biz? Yeah, I mean, AEW wouldn't like Rebby bashing the company.
No way,
if it was
Tony would never be part of that. No way.
I just think that's total, like, people were saying, like, I don't think it's a work. I'd be very surprised if it was. But people were saying, like, yeah, there are certain people that are like, oh, you guys are just mad because it was a work, but you guys got worked, haha. I'm like, even if it was, it's a shitty work. Like, all it did was make people really uncomfortable and, like, suck the energy out of the building.
Let's be clear. He hit his head on concrete.
Yeah.
Guys, again, I have 21 concussions. I work with Christopher Nowinski. I talk to high school football teams about concussions and not snitching, but protecting your brother and sister out there on the football field and letting the coach know if one of them get hurt and they're trying to be tough guys, still play along on the concussion, right? So I take these dead serious. And I'm telling you right now, when Nowinski told me, from any of us, after we get a concussion, if I just fall on my ass on this nice patch of grass out here outside of my truck, is enough for my brain to switch back and forth to be reconcussed again. Yeah. So for idiots out there saying, oh, it's a work, no, that is a concussion. There's no question about it. Matt had a concussion.
Absolutely. Oh, sorry. JZ Europe is saying, great show as always. Worst AEW pay-per-view, but not worst pay-per-view of 2020. Money in the Bank was worse for sure. Yeah. Oh, no. Oh, God. What was the Extreme Rules was worse? Oh,
Extreme Rules is the worst WWE pay-per-view
Who cares?
I've ever seen.
Get to the next line.
How about JR's old man perv moment with Anna Jay?
Yep.
I was like that with Penelope Ford, so I can't blame him.
JR did it also. When did he do it? Was that on Dynamite too?
He says stuff.
So, that's a good woman.
She's a fine looking lady. Like they say something like that.
I wouldn't get her off on top of me. Yeah. It's all right.
What he said, like he said, oh, I think there was a wardrobe malfunction, or he said that. I think that, or maybe that was just some wishful thinking.
Oh.
So, anyway.
I'd like to go horseback riding with that little lady. He says the stupidest stuff.
I mean, Jesus. I mean, Anna Jay is smoking hot. I don't know if that's no longer appropriate to say or not.
She can be no. Listen, she has a look though. She does have a superstar look to her.
She looks like she has a TV.
She looks like somebody.
She got signed, and she only had literally less than 24 matches in her career.
Yeah, really? I mean, she looks like a star.
Where did she come from?
She was one of QT Marshall's wrestling students in his wrestling school in Georgia. That when they were
had less than a handful of matches.
Yeah, they were using that kind of when they had those really dark shows where they had to do it. Yeah, that's when those people kind of first started showing up, and she was one of the wrestling students, and they just said put her in there. There's a few other. I'm trying to think.
Because facials, who cares? So her facials. For somebody who has less than a handful of matches, like in the promos that she's in the background on, the things that Kenny Omega still can't do today. It's the subtleties I was telling you about. She's really she could be big. Handful of matches. Wow, I'm even more impressed by her right now.
Well, and then one of the things is that they need to.
And JR did apologize on Twitter, by the way. So, which is good God. I mean, he tweeted, "Don't mean to offend anyone on the wardrobe malfunction line. We could attempt at humor. Sorry, now lighten up. Come on, JR."
Do you say lighten up, Francis? That's what he
no Francis, but. All right, let's get to the news about the thing. The thing about the thing.
Yes.
So, Raj, you said you had the latest update on this earlier, correct? First of all, Wrestling Inc. broke the story.
Wrestling Inc. did break the story of Vince McMahon sending a letter to talent saying that they can no longer. Well, Matt, I did want to get your opinion on this, and I know you guys discussed it last night, but Vince McMahon saying that talent can no longer use third-party engagements, basically like Cameo, Twitch, but it wasn't specified what it was. Like, is it YouTube? Is it Twitch? Is it, whatever.
What about it?
But he's kind of always been like that. It was shocking to me.
Of course, he's always been like that. It was shocking to me. These kids. I sound like JR and Shivani now. No, I was shocked that they're allowed to be doing all this stuff.
Right.
Frankly, but they were, and they were able to do all this stuff. So the game changed a little bit, right? So I have a problem with them now. All of a sudden, they want to take it away to a degree. To a degree. But my bigger problem is the name stuff. You cannot take a dude's Birth name. That's like him saying he copyright Matt Morgan. I can't use my own birth name?
Apparently, while you're under contract at WWE, you can't. And John Cena has talked about it on the Howard Stern show. Apparently, it's in your contract that while you're under contract, they own you.
But where else would you...
Independent contractor.
Where else would you go, though? Where else would you be? Like, there was nowhere else for me to go while I was under contract for them to use my name.
Well, like, if you're Roman Reigns, you can't do a cooking show under Joe Anoa'i, you know? Like, the WWE owns that trait, so you'd have to get permission from them first. They'd get a cut. I mean, at some point, this is going to catch up to WWE. I mean, with the independent contractor stuff.
Well, did you see the Andrew Yang Twitter thread?
Yeah, he was right. He's right. And somebody put a lot of eyeballs on this most messed up situation in the world that people in politics can't even believe. I came from this world where this was happening, of independent contractors being treated like this.
This was a weird 6 degrees of separation, because I did break the story. I don't like to brag usually, but I broke it. Andrew Yang commented on it, and then Leah Thompson. Back to the Future is my favorite movie all time, and she was commenting on it.
That's awesome.
What a great moment! Highlight for Raj.
I gotta slide into her DMs.
Well, I saw this being thrown around. I don't know. Okay. I don't know. Jr. Raj Jr. I saw this on Twitter the amount of money some of these people make. I mean, we saw the numbers came out for some of the cameo, the money some of these people
Paige
are making
can make
cameo.
up to $500,000 a year. Something like that.
40. Someone was saying, like, if you just take Paige's the number of Twitch followers and you say, like, if they're all paying the standard rate, she's making $45,000 a month on this thing. I'm Paige.
Wow.
Like, insane money, like more money than she's making on her contract. And this happens.
She's pointing out that Paige is still on Twitch under her government name. She changed it to Saria Official, I think, because of this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Zelina and Alistair still use their name, never changed it. AJ Styles deleted his. So,
I mean, these people were making a lot of money off this, and for someone like Paige, who unfortunately is probably not going to wrestle again, it's a way for these people to make money when whether their career's over or they're looking, they have a short window to make money at this level, and I feel bad for them, because what I think is going to happen, and this is just total speculation on my behalf, is that WWE wants to launch their own Cameo, or perhaps their own Twitch. I think Cameo is more likely.
So I was talking to a wrestler tonight during the Matt Hardy match, and so I missed the concrete bump. But this WWE wrestler, and he thinks that. So he was saying he thinks that Vince didn't even know what Cameo was, and when he found out, because they want to do their own virtual meet and greets. That's why he decided to get proactive on it. Now, I heard from a close source that that's not the case. Vince has known what Cameo is, but these things have been getting out of hand, and it's probably like the AJ Styles Twitch and Lana's stuff that is the reason.
Because something bad can happen, and then the company has to pick up that branded talent that is now damaged.
Yeah.
If they screw up, if something happens on one of these Twitches, or they say something out of line.
Didn't Randy Orton say the N-word on a Twitch stream?
He did.
Wait, what?
Well, he said it with ending with an A, not an ER.
How is he still? Wait, what?
No, it's still bad. But
it was a few years ago. How long ago?
No, it was last year.
Okay, so it was last year. But if he said it now, I think he'd be in bigger trouble than he was.
It got swept on the rug, but he just goes,
wow.
But I mean that's your worst. But isn't that your worst case scenario? Like when you.
But he was saying it. He wasn't saying it in a racist tone.
I know.
He was saying it in a slang tone, which doesn't excuse it.
That's the kind of thing you'd worry about if you're WWE. Like,
for sure,
doing that, right?
But AJ Styles talked about how he had COVID, and on Twitch, and I think, and I'm a minority. I don't justify Randy Orton's thing, of course, but it was different what he said than like a Hulk Hogan In my opinion.
I have two quick questions. The first is, and Raj, I don't know if you've heard anything of this. I wonder what the cameo policy is with people in other fields. Like, I know a lot of the people on Cameo are like television actors, and I wonder, like, if you get if you get the guy who played Stanley on The Office, for example, to do a cameo, and he plays, Stanley on The Office in his cameo, which I'm sure he does. Like, is The Office getting royalties for that? Is that all just him? I'm curious to know how that works, like, outside of the wrestling world. And then I guess my second question would be, what is the standard of like wrestlers getting individual sponsorships? Because if you look on some of these, particularly the women, like on Instagram, like if you go on like Mandy Rose's Instagram, she's basically just hawking, like activewear and all this stuff like that. And she's probably making a lot of money because she's got millions of followers, and she's, doing stuff. Is WWE involved in that at all? Like, does WWE have to approve the sponsorships?
I'll give you two right now. Redcon. That's a supplement line that I was sponsored by. They paid me a monthly paycheck to push their products, which I actually really liked and used. But I introduced them to some wrestlers, and now I see they've really made their way in. And like Braun is wearing their hats and T-shirts on WWE. That last WWE feature they did on him on the network for Braun Strowman. He was wearing all their gear and using all their supplements. Same with 3 or 4 other talents. But they're not giving them a paycheck to do it. They're sending them free merch and free supplements in return. So I don't see anything wrong with that.
No, not at all. I'm just curious to know, because I'm sure, like, there's a lot of money. I'm not an expert on it, but there's a lot of money to be made on being like a social media influencer and endorsing these products.
I do gotta ask you, where do you think the line is with controlling? Because like a movie. Like if you work on Iron Man, if you're the bad guy in Iron Man, you can still have your own Twitch and Twitter and all these other things. WWE, you can't do any of that. You can have a Twitter account, but you can't do anything that makes money. Where would you feel like the line is appropriate?
I think where you can get stuff for free, like supplements, gym clothes, food, maybe even. I think monetarily is where they got to cut it, if I'm being honest. But then again, it depends. I just think for WWE, they can't take a chance for one of their talents to say something in these Twitches or these other things in which they're doing full-on videos, and something bad can happen. WWE doesn't have their controlling hands on it, and something bad can happen. That's their branded talent that they put money and investment into.
But you are an independent contractor.
But now they get hurt. Now they get hurt. And they hurt their brand and all this money they just paid you to be seen this certain way. And now you're out there doing something completely different on your own. But back to if I'm looking at this solely independent, see, I don't look at it as independent contractor because I'm in the wrestling bubble. Right. So I'm one of them that signed my name away and signed my life away, knowing full well, yes, I should be treated like an independent contractor, but I know I'm not. I'm wearing a suit on an airplane. Which last time I paid the guy to come paint my house, I didn't tell him what to wear when he came and painted it, right? I didn't tell him what time to get here. I didn't tell him if he didn't get here at this time, he's fired. I said, just please make sure my house is painted over the weekend, right? That's it. That's it. You pay for the service. That's how you treat an independent contractor. That is not how WWE treats us. They make us go at a certain time. They make us wear certain clothes. And then they're very controlling. It's incredibly controlling. So I liked what Yang said. I really appreciated that, actually.
Yeah.
He put a lot of eyeballs on it.
Because
I hope something finally gets done with this. I hope somebody steps
something
in.
Has to, because
it does something.
The point with the painter, granted, it's going to be it's a different scenario with a painter and a wrestler. But for me to tell a painter that I own their name while they're painting my house,
bro, it's a service. When you're an independent contractor, I don't give a shit what it is that we do. You're providing a service for an agreed upon amount of money for said service. That's the deal.
Yeah, you don't owe them. You don't own them.
As soon as I have my match, I should be able to leave. I should have to stay and watch the rest of the matches. I should be able to do whatever the hell I want to go do from that moment on. Until the next time I'm expected to come and provide a service for that money again. But here's the big thing. Here's the biggest part of your question, Roger, you're missing. They're going to leave in droves. Mark my words.
Oh, you think so?
WWE talents are going to bounce because there's more money. Dude, AEW is money. I'm telling you, you're going to see people leave. I will guarantee it.
That's going to be the difference maker.
Because listen, it's a different environment. When I was there, we couldn't do those things, these outside things.
Like TNA.
These younger wrestlers now, on the other hand, these wrestlers in today's generation, they did come into WWE, being able to have up, down, down, being able to have Twitch, being able to have all these different accounts and all these other influencer things that they get to do on social media. They came into the business with that stuff. So now you're taking it away from them. They're going to flip the bird, a lot of them, and they're going to go to AEW. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Well, if you believe the pay, like
And
the
a lot
salary,
of- sorry,
Paige
go ahead.
stuff, I'm just saying, like, Paige is making more money off her Twitch than she is for WWE.
45 grand a month, ain't nobody making that on WWE. That's maybe somebody. That's a lot of money.
That's
That's
a lot of money. Wow.
a gratuitous, estimate.
and money, but you can also grow. I know it's gratuitous, but I mean, I'm saying we're not talking about a couple $100 or something here. We're talking about, for some of these people,
That could be a full year of somebody's pay, like, obviously.
And here's the thing, and Matt, you can
45
explain
grand?
this better than
It's
anyone.
way more than
is
I
that
make a year.
when people think that WWE guys are millionaires living in first class, that's not the case. Like
I
most
thought
of the
it wasn't until you told me FTR was offered $750 grand each as a tag team that wasn't on TV. I was like, well, maybe they are.
I remember flying every WrestleMania. There's wrestlers and coach. They're not.
Yeah, that's true. They do cheat.
I'm in first class. No,
Of course you are. Yeah, you are.
the Wrestling Inc. account.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
No, you're not.
Well, one of the things.
No, he's not.
One of the things I've heard tossed around is that the wrestlers are making less money now because they're not doing house shows and they're not making as much, and they have more free time, so they can do stuff like Twitch and they can record all these cameos.
They don't have that. They don't have the live event money. They don't have all this other stuff.
And if WWE produces, WWE Cameo or WWE Twitch, which I think I'd be surprised if they went that far. But do you think the talent? Do you think the talent's going to get? Do you think the talent's going to get the same amount of cut as they were getting when they were doing it by themselves?
Probably.
No,
I think
it's going to go
because they're going to promote it. They're going to push it on their channels.
But you're only going to get X amount of people. Where right? Rusev and all them doing their Twitches and stuff, they get like a whole new, a different, wider audience.
The WWE, I mean, they have their millions of people. They're like, hey, this guy is gonna.
Yeah, but here's Jobber on SmackDown though. Like, say some jobber. But like some jobber has a chance to go out there on his own cameo and do a pretty good job on it if WWE has nothing to do with it. Because WWE would treat him like a jobber on cameo and say like, hey, so for 50 cents, this guy will do your happy birthday for you on cameo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Treat him like a jobber.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fascinated to see. I'm interested, Matt, you saying that guys are going to leave in droves.
I think there'll be a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to be like this huge awakening, but I think.
But I don't know if AEW allows it either. You're not seeing AEW guys on Cameo or Twitch either.
Yeah, you are. Did you not see the Kip Sabian segment? He said, "I'm on Twitch," and they had a sign below.
But Cameo, are they doing Cameo?
I'm sure anyone can do Cameo.
I think Cameo is the big one.
Well,
because WWE is looking to do their own virtual meet and greets.
Dude, being the elite drives their own storylines.
Right. But that's kind of under the AEW banner. But I mean, Cameo. Are there any AEW wrestlers on Cameo?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. We got Darby Allin, Matt Hardy, Sammy Guevara, Chris Statlander, Brandon Cutler, Evil Uno, John Silver, MJF.
Jericho in on it?
I just typed in AEW on a Cameo. Maybe it doesn't come up. But yeah, there's a good amount of people on the roster. MJF is $500 if you want MJF to say something to you.
500. That's what That's like the highest priced WWE guy.
I think that's by design. Is like MJF.
I was talking to DDP. He was saying how like MJF when they were on Jericho's cruise, he decided
this is great.
He charged the most. He charged more than Sting on the cruise.
I think he charged $1 more.
He charged $1 more. It was like Sting was like $200 and MJF did like 201 or whatever, and it was just to be people. More like it was so great. I love MJF,
and he got people to do it, and he would they would pay, and he would just insult them, and they would mark out for him being insulting them. I mean,
people pay $200 for his autograph.
What's that?
Somebody paid $200 for MJ's autograph.
All these people,
yeah.
That's pretty.
Someone paid. Well, how much were they selling the Fiend belt for? And they must have got people to buy that. What was the special Fiend belt? Wasn't that like $5,000?
I don't